Hello and welcome to another episode of Crizzy Books. I'm Crizzy, or Chris, but only my homeboys call me Chris. And today I'm going to be doing a review for Ring. Ring was published in 1991, and I'm sure like pretty much everybody else in America, you saw the movie way back in 2000 whenever. I had no idea that this was actually a book from Japan. I always knew that the movie was an adaptation of a Japanese movie, but I didn't know that it was based on a book. Because I liked the movie so much, I was definitely interested to read the source. On top of that, the author has also been referred to as the Stephen King of Japan. Let's see if that actually holds up. Ring starts off with the sudden death of 4 teenagers, college age. I believe they're college age. They all die at the same time on the same night of mysterious causes. Not with each other, they're scattered throughout. One of these kids is a girl. She's the niece of a journalist who, after finding out about a second one that happened around the same time, becomes very curious about what's going on, what's happening. And he starts to make connections between these 4 people, which ends up leading him to a cabin. And in that cabin, he finds a VHS tape that he watches. It's a bit of a weird, kind of disturbing VHS tape. And then at the end, it says he's going to die in a week unless he does something. But that something has been erased off of the tape. So then it's a race against time for him to figure out exactly what he needs to do to break this curse and save himself. It's full of tension, and it's pretty engrossing. And I really enjoyed this. For this being a horror novel, it's surprisingly not very scary. I think that the horror more lies in the tension that it builds, especially with this ticking clock aspect. So let's get into the actual review of the book. Starting off with the story. It's a pretty slow burn, even with this limited time that our main character Asakawa has. But for the slow burn and the kind of slow feeling, slower pace that it seems to have, this is not a super long book. It still is captivating. It drew me in such a weird way. Mundane things were happening and I was fully locked into it. And I don't know, it's just so interesting. For such a supernatural based story, it's really grounded in reality. Our characters really know nothing at all about what he's supposed to do, what they are supposed to do. Because obviously other characters get dragged into this too. He can't just go this alone. Not everything happens so conveniently as you would expect it to. I mean, there is still some pretty convenient, plot things that do happen. But for the most part, it just felt like a natural, well, let's try this. Or them just kind of standing around being like, I don't really know. We should just go based on this one tiny lead that we have and hope that that works. If this were to really happen to you, what are you going to do? Me personally, I'd probably just curl up into a ball and cry until I die. Character-wise, I can't say that I felt super connected to really anybody. And normally that would probably be a gripe for me, but for this one, it didn't really bother me all that much. I'd say probably out of all the characters in this, Ryuji is probably the best, most fleshed out person. He easily has the most depth and mystery to him. We don't really know if he is putting up a front to appear to be this kind of crazy, more dangerous guy, or if he really is just a wimp with a facade. But other than that, everybody just kind of seems to play their role to move the story forward. You still are concerned for Asakawa and his wife and child, and you want him to succeed. But at the end of the day, did I feel strongly attached to him? No. One of the best parts that I liked, and probably the more horror-inducing things, which, it wasn't even all that shocking. Honestly, it was pretty predictable. But when you find out that his wife and baby both watched the tape while he was gone, it's still just God, no. You just get that kind of feeling of ugh. It shakes you in this way, even though I knew it was going to happen. It's just one of those things you just don't want to happen. A baby watching a cursed VHS tape? A little baby? I haven't read a ton of Japanese books, but the ones that I have, all of them are horny, and this one is no exception. If you don't know what I mean, I don't know, read more Japanese books. They're all horny. After a time, actually getting more towards the end, we find out who actually made it. A girl named Sadako, who was raped and killed by a doctor and tossed into a well. She is psychically making this VHS tape and these images and putting this curse on anybody who's watching it. This whole scene all plays out, and we get the full details, and it is pretty gnarly to read. But then on top of that, we get another little tidbit of information that Sadako is not just a female. She is hermaphroditic, which was just such a wild thing to toss into this story. I'm not completely sure why, though. I don't know. Maybe I missed something there. I just didn't feel like it was really that important to the plot. I really enjoyed the scenes towards the end where Ryuji and Asakawa are trying to locate the well. Once they actually find the well, digging into the well to try and find Sadako's body. This just felt really good. Asakawa is about to just completely give up at this point. He's laying on his back and falling asleep and just has no motivation to do anything. He knows that his time is coming very near. We're literally hours away from his deadline, and they're digging in this well and digging in. He's not finding anything, and he's kind of going in and out of this almost dreamlike state, and it's really well done. I really enjoyed this part, probably my favorite part of the whole book. I was talking about plot conveniences earlier and how some things kind of felt like, okay. At the very end, one big one really happens. Ryuji does not break this curse, even though we think that he has, because Asakawa's still alive. Ryuji ends up dying. And then he sends Asakawa telepathically some message about he needs to copy the tape or something. This all felt a little dumb to me. Dumb. I wasn't really a big fan of it. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, suddenly Ryuji has powers. Like, he didn't have any of these throughout the whole book, but now that he's dead, he can, or I don't know. I was kind of like, come on, like, what the hell are you talking about? But overall, I think that the greatest strength of this book is its tension and the constant reminder that the clock is ticking, that Asakawa's time is running out. And every time that he gets an answer to a question, it just gives him more questions. And the anxiety that induces in him and you as a reader, I think, is really, really good and super solid. And again, for this being a horror novel, it's not really that scary at all. But that feeling of, is this guy going to make it out? Or will he get the answers that he can at least give to the people behind him who have just a little bit more time than he does? I think that is just really, really well done. I really enjoyed it. And so for that, I'm going to give it a very, very, very solid 4 out of 5. Good all around. Do recommend it. Just don't expect it to be shocking you in any way. And so the big question that we had at the beginning, is Koji Suzuki the Stephen King of Japan? No. I don't know what kind of brand of crack people are smoking to come to that conclusion. I would not compare this book to a Stephen King book at all. However, he is not bad, and I definitely am pretty interested to read some of his other novels. This is the first one in a series of books. There's more than this, and I hear they get wilder and crazier from here. So maybe in the future I'll probably read more, but not bad at all. Definitely one of the better Japanese or foreign books that I've read. But yeah, what did you think? Do you like Ring?
7 days.
Sound off in the comments below. Be sure to like the video, smash that subscribe button, and as always, thank you for watching. Bye.